Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So, Tracy, we have a very special guest today. His name is Stefan Figley. Stefan is president of 1-800 Packouts, a leader in the contents and personal property restoration franchise industry since 2016 and part of the five-star franchising platform of home services brands. Stefan has nearly 30 years experience in franchise and marketing industries with a focus on brand growth. He has held executive and leadership positions with nationally recognized companies such as Terminex, Stamatic, Mary Mage, Janet King International, as well as prominent international roles in the marketing industry. I'm excited for this conversation. Stefan, you are our token man for this month, so we're really glad to have you.
I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it.
How do you like his name, Rebecca?
I love the name Stefan. I mean, it's like sexy in some way, right? It's like it should be like a movie star or some, some name and lights kind of thing.
Nah, just running a franchise. That's it.
I
That's as
don't
famous
believe
as you need.
That's great. So, I understand that you have a very interesting background, interesting childhood, and you played professional tennis for a while. Tell us all about that. Take us back.
Sure. So I was adopted. That's how I got the name. My adoptive mother's German, and so she wanted to keep some of that German culture in there. And those that know the German culture, you're pretty organized. If you're not early, you're late. So that was just built into my DNA. I was fortunate enough to be exposed to a lot of athletics while I was growing up, and ended up with tennis and played in college and was doing quite well and was able to go out on tour for a little bit and travel the world and play some tennis. It was really a blessing to be able to do something like that, but the experience was quite awesome. But at a certain point, you figure out what are you going to do in the future. I wanted to get into business, so I ended up electing to stop the tour, or the massive travels, if you would. I was asked to come back and teach for a little bit in some a high-end resort club in Aspen, Colorado, with my former coach. And from there, I started getting into business and went into the agency world and strategic marketing and got to go around the world doing that as well. I ran 23 different markets for Leo Burnett out of Chicago, and moved along into the corporate side of things. And from there, got introduced into franchising about 22 years ago and have been in franchising on pretty much since that juncture. So it's been a wild ride, and I've been a lot, very vast background in different areas. So I like it, and I think people enjoy talking about different elements. So it's been
I do.
good.
Stefan, I was born and raised on the German side of Switzerland. German is my native tongue, and I had to giggle because when you talk about organized, I get it, right? You don't cross a street in Switzerland unless you're in those boundaries, right? And you're never late and everything's clean and the logs are stacked just perfectly in front of your house and your planter out front with the flowers come out at just at the right time. So I get it. So this kind of structure, this kind of discipline that you got from your mama, who brings this German influence into you, how did that help you both in your career as a tennis player and then later in business? Tell us a little bit more about that
A-
structure.
Absolutely. Well, it's about being prepared. And I mean, whether it was in tennis, I've had coaches, and if you're getting ready for a match an hour before the match, you're unprepared. You didn't come in prepared. You had time to do that. get everything ready so that you're focused on what you're about to go and do. It'd be like going into a week of sales, and you're going to go and Monday morning, you're deciding what you're going to do that week. So you're unprepared. You haven't set up your meetings. You haven't, that should have been done and locked in, and you're there just regrouping, focusing on what you're about to go accomplish. And from there, you're able to be flexible instead of, well, you're scrambling to fix things that you could have taken care of before. All of that was the exact same in sports as it is to business that I see. So that's helped a lot. The other elements are staying on top of it, being able with this rigidness. The one thing I did find is, like you said, staying in those lines. You have to use some movement on those lines a little bit in business and be flexible. And I learned that in sports. Nothing ever went to plan in a tennis match. If it did, I can guarantee you I won the match easily. Never goes the way it is. Someone I used to work out with, Martina Navratilova, I used to practice with her a lot, and she always said, you get there, you're warming up in your match, and you're going to figure out what you actually have to play with in that match. Remember, you don't have to beat everybody in that match. You just have to beat that person across from you. So you do that into business. You don't have to solve everything of the business that day. You need to solve what you have in front of you that day that allows you to be there for the next day. And that's the mentality that I think a lot of folks sometimes skip over a little bit. They want the whole big picture, and they're trying to jump too fast through things. It's all built on what you put in. And so that's where I think some of my background in sports and athletics resonates very true to what I do and what I teach and work with franchise owners right now in my business.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm so amazed. That's very cool. Number one, that was a training partner, so to speak, that you played with Martina Navratilova. That's incredible. And those are some really fascinating life lessons. Especially for someone like me who I don't feel like I was raised with that much structure. So listening to you say things like, well, if you're not early, you're late. Or if you're preparing 1 hour before, you're not prepared. So you probably deal with a lot of people who have never played sports, but maybe who do want to be in a franchise. Where do you start? What is that first step to getting organized, prepared, structured?
Well, I mean, in franchising, it helps. There's a process. That's why the franchisor is there. We don't, and this is what I was saying before, we don't do the actual work. We set up the process. We help guide on the process. We can advise, but we're not going to go do the work. I'm not going to go sell it. Of course, if I can get sales and pass it to franchise owners, I'd be happy to pass it along. But those are above and beyond. Those are the elements of surprise and shouldn't be baked in. And so you start there with managing those expectations. What is that new owner or what is that franchise owner expecting? And you can tell by the work that they put in, are they prepared for it? In our business, we have accountability groups where the franchisees all get together. We are there as a moderator. We're not directing it from the corporate side. We let them talk through everything and we help guide on that. But that element of accountability gets back to planning and preparing what's next. If you have somebody say, well, I had 4 meetings this week. I have another owner that's the top of their game that's going to say, this week? That's my team's doing that before 10 o'clock on Monday. Like, what are you doing the rest of the week? Where the other person was actually patting themselves on the back a little bit. And it doesn't have to be the franchisor every time. We're setting up the capability to take that accountability, to set up and be prepared for it as well. But all in all, it's making sure we understand where they're coming from, what their mindset is as they enter the brand, and then try to put the process into place for them so they are prepared and able to deliver on the roller coaster of owning a business. And part of it is just making sure they expect it isn't all smooth sailing. A lot of rough waters ahead. So,
which I was just going to ask you about, because being organized, systematized, following the process, being disciplined, does give us, kind of a leg up. But if the message was anything, it's still work, right? It's still
Yes.
hard work. So some of the other attributes of a franchisee is around that, right?
Right.
Having commitment, having grit. Can you address that for us and why that is so important no matter what business we go into?
Sure. So I see it, we require a new owner to bring their pro forma that they're mentally starting, how they've built their business model. We go through this as they're coming through, as even deciding on it, trying to help them gauge it correctly. I mean, if you are putting it out there, you can make 10 million in your first 12 months and make 30%. Yeah, everybody wants that. But is that reality? Can you actually do that? And so part of it is you're going to set this, and then things will not go the way you want it to go. In ours, it's about getting the right building. Great, I'm going to launch in 3 months, but then you have problems finding the building. You have problems with the landlord. There are those elements. Then you're saying, I'm going to have this staff and this staff. Then you can't find the right people. There's a hurdle every turn you go, and you have to understand that it's not going to be, we're in a service business, so it's going to be changing at all times. The client's going to be difficult or going to be very great to work with. You're going to have a subcontractor that's good to work with or not good to work with. Delivering, not showing up on time. All of that impacts you as the owner, and you have to manage that. And so you're going to have to fight through some things that didn't go as planned. And some of the times I see some newer owners in my career that it didn't go to plan in their first 3 months, and they're like, well, that's it. And they never left their office. And you're like, well, did you get out and talk to any clients? Did you get any, like in one of the other business I did, which was home inside the home? Did you go talk to the homeowners? What went wrong? Why did they cancel your service? Well, no, my person said that this happened. Okay, but there's always two sides to that story. Go through it a little bit, because a lot of times in that type of industry, if you fix it, they actually become a more loyal customer. There was one deal we always would say, we had hoped that something would go slightly wrong, not devastatingly wrong, because we had a chance to fix it, and it delivered an experience to the consumer that seemed to be above and beyond, is how they perceived it and took it. And it's really just kind of digging in a little bit, not giving up, knowing that you've got the right process in place, but just not everything's going to flow exactly the way you think it will. And being able to pivot and make a decision that doesn't hurt you too much and allows you the next step of growth. That's the key in what we work on, we talk about. But it's hard because business owner, it's their money. They're taking it personal. And sometimes you got to help them, tell them it's not about you. It's just the situation. Adjust, do the best you can on this one and move on. If there's something you can change, make that adjustment. We do it as a brand. I have to change. We aren't perfect in everything we do. As new owners keep coming through, we see all sorts of things we can continue to improve on, whether it's training, talking more about grit, for example, and getting that in and how they do it. And so everything is a continued learning experience. Nothing is locked in stone. You need to be able to move forward.
That's so transparent of you to share with us that you guys were hoping that a little something would go wrong. Do you think that's situations like that are where the phrase it didn't happen to you, it happened for you? You think that's where that comes from?
It definitely could. It definitely would relate to it for sure. And we don't wish ill on anybody, but it's just like if something was misplaced and we found it, or timing was a little bit off. Hey, folks, let's fix that timing. And then we addressed it. Thank you, Mr. Customer, Miss Customer. Let us do better next time. And the thing is, if you do better, the perception that comes back over from a marketing element and the perceived service you just provided, you didn't do a lot different. You just showed up on time. you have just delivered, and they become more loyal for a longer period of time. And that's on those repeat businesses, for example. But it makes the same situation for a franchisor and a franchisee. If something's wrong, we have to fix it as the franchisor, so our franchisees have that confidence. But you're correct. I definitely think that's a big relationship to what it is.
Great.
For sure. You know, you're talking about this need for tenacity and determination and commitment and grit, and we're going to bump our head and we got to course correct. We got to keep a focus. We need to manage our expectations as a franchisor as well as a franchisee. But in many ways, your business is an emotional one, right? Not just for the franchisee, but for the customer that's just gone through a crisis. Um, so what is it that the franchisee needs to possess to do a good job dealing with this catastrophe that just happened to a customer?
They need to know, they need to have an understanding of what the end customer is actually going through. And so we actually have two customers, usually with the insurance carrier being technically the main customer. But all in all, everything we do is to that homeowner or the policy holder. And I mean, if there's no empathy, that's going to be problematic. If an owner does not have empathy, that will be problematic because, like you said, we deal in emotion. This is not a regular occurrence. So the policyholder, the homeowner, is going to be going through this pretty much for the first time. And even if they've experienced it before, it probably hasn't been recent. If you're, as I say this a lot, but if you're a repeat customer, 1-800-Packouts, there's some bad luck going on because we usually don't show up if something good has happened. We're there to help you get back to the good. And it's our owners in our business know that. And because we deal with people's personal property, we're a lot of the forefront of the industry inside of that home because we're taking your stuff away. We're going to clean it, store it. And is it safe? Is it good? We have to be able to make sure we build that up for that customer. So it is absolutely 100% necessary for having some empathy to it, knowing that they don't even know what the next step is that they have to handle and who they're calling and how to get the approvals. Well, we can do a lot of that as well. And if we're on the job, then that is something we try to help with. And we'll help even to answer any other questions. Some folks don't know what their insurance policy says. And when we come out to do a review, we can take a look at it, understand a little bit more, try to decipher some and say, you need to ask this question or this question so that they can get through it and get out of just the bureaucracy of the paperwork, which is necessary. But let's get out of that and get to the resolution because that's what everybody wants. That's what the homeowner wants. And that's what the contractors all want to try and get this all done, get you back into your home and your life back on track where you want to go. And so that's the bottom line. You have to have that level of empathy. If there isn't, and there's no consciousness to it, then that's where we start to waver a little bit. And so that is something we look at when we evaluate potential candidates for ownership.
Wow. It's amazing. It definitely sounds like 1-800-Packouts is the number to call, God forbid somebody has a home catastrophe. I'm curious, when the holiday times come around and you have, I guess you have some of your clients' things in storage, right? And recently I had to move some things out into a pod. So all of that stuff was gone for several months. And I know that the holidays are a really, precious time of year for some people. So how do you deal with that? Is there anything that you do to make families feel better? Like what happens when the holidays roll around?
Sure, that's a great question, Tracy, and it's something we've seen, and there's stories we have. Again, a lot of folks are displaced, and so they're trying to gain some semblance of a regular action, if you would, around the holidays, which a lot of us, have some fond memories. Not everybody, but a lot of fond memories around these times. And so with our process and what we do, everything is inventoried. We know where all the items are and which box they are and which storage. We call them vaults, in storage vaults. And we've done this in the past. We've had some homeowners wanting to get their belongings or certain items for the holidays so that they can decorate where they are right now and have some resemblance of normalcy. And we can access it. And we invite them into the storage facility. We've pulled the vault. We pull it out. We ask what they want. They've taken it. We mark it. We allow them to take it. And they are able to enjoy it, and they can bring it back, and we'll put it back into storage and allow them, and then it'll be moved back to their home once it's all back together. So it's definitely something we have had happen several times. And for me, it's a warming story when I hear that, and that they've been able to have some of the normalcy back for themselves.
That's really nice.
It really is. So, Stefan, when you look back at your life, is there a theme, a purpose, maybe a motto that you might live by? How would you define that if you could define it?
So I think this goes back to, for me, it's about a challenge. And as we spoke a little bit before the show, Tracy brought something up to me, and I'll bring up as well, non-complacency for me. And that's my theme. It's just in sports, you're always overcoming a challenge. That's the goal. There's something in front of you. You have to surpass that to take the victory. That's pretty straightforward. It's been there from historically for all sorts of things, not just sports. But the non-complacency is the element that I think brings the color to all of that challenge. And to face the challenge, to overcome the challenge, you can't be complacent. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. We hear that all the time. You don't have to think of a sport like tennis, but it's climbing a mountain, a large or strenuous hike. If you're complacent, you're going to stop at a certain point and you're not going to continue. It's like, well, I did enough. Look at that. I'm 25% of the way up. Good for me. It's more than I thought I'd do. It's great. That wouldn't be me. It would be, my goal was to reach the top. I'd probably put a time on it. I didn't say everybody has to, but that I'm competitive in that sense. And that's been my theme, sometimes overly competitive. We see it a lot now. It's publicized in a lot of movies and TV shows of the over competitive, but that's an element that is not necessarily a negative in business. You're not going to take that answer and that's the only one, or shoot, I had this sales goal and I missed this and I tried this one element and that's it. You're going to say, nope, okay, I understand that didn't work. I'm going to try this. That's the non-complacency that sits. The challenge was to be able to make the sales numbers that you had. And so when you put them both together, they're literally, it's a set. And I do think that's the theme of where I've gone from my tennis in my youth all the way in through business, and I continue to do it. And so that's where I'd say a theme is.
Did you ever see did you both ever see the movie Meet the Fockers? And Robert De Niro, my favorite line, I don't know it exact, but he says something like, I don't understand. I never met a family that celebrates mediocrity like this.
And I think sometimes we get into it a little bit too much. I have a son who's 18, was quite competitive in sports, and he got frustrated when the team that didn't win a game when we were 8 or whatever, they all received the same size trophy as his team that won the championship, and he didn't understand that. And I understand the concept on both sides, but at the same time, it was, as you go older, and if you teach that at a younger age, as you gain in age, you're going to find that not everybody's just there for a friendly gathering. They got into some serious sports, and then it gets competitive when you're looking for a position in college, and you're like, well, I was pretty darn good in the state of Texas. And you find out there's 49 other states that had pretty darn good people in it. And it's tough in those sports. In tennis, you saw it all because you got in, if you were the top, fairly top in Texas, you were outplaying the people through the US, and then out of the US, the people internationally. So you got a little bit of a different exposure I did than compared to the sport that he's playing. But it's the same deal. It's mediocrity is the level we all can achieve. And if you're going to do business, mediocrity will produce probably mediocre profitability and earnings. And most of the candidates I see do not have the goal of mediocrity.
No,
They want to win, and some of their actions afterwards, what they need to work more on, and we want to help them do that.
I like that. One of the things at Zorka Profiles that we measure are grit markers for prospective franchisees and competitive markers. And unfortunately, those are numbers we have been seeing drop. And some of that is societal, as you kind of described, where the trophy's the same size no matter where you. So it does kind of take away the joy of winning and the desire to compete. What do you guys do at 1-800-Packouts that nurtures, fosters, encourages stepping up to the challenge, being tenacious, being even competitive? What do you guys do to, I guess, foster it?
Yeah, we just started. The owners asked that same question, and we had kept it a little more private, but we post every month's revenue reports for the entire network. It's just posted one through the bottom. Here it is. These were the revenues that were posted by each franchise owner. So that's new. We've been doing that now for about 4 months. But it's gotten to the point where folks didn't have a great month, and they see it up there and they're like scratching their head, and they like to consider themselves a top 10 performer, and there they are at 29. And it's like, the reality is right there. The thing we just did in our conference this past November was don't trade peace for truth. And the idea is the truth or the facts. This is what it is. You can't shake it. This is it. Now, if you want to give excuses or reasons why, you're trading some peace for that. And the thing is you're not going to solve some of those problems. They want to be number one. We hope that we can engage that fire, that ferocity of being competitive. Not everybody is super competitive. That's just the way it is. But at the same time, it allows to open up conversations. And that's what we've seen since we've done this, not just with corporate, but they then reach out to some of the other franchisees in the network, which is the benefit of being in a franchise. You have a network, not just corporate. They're doing the same business in their market as you're supposed to be doing in yours. And that conversation, and there's many, this is not unique by any means, but if that's not there, you're missing a little bit of a piece on that. And a lot of top brands do this. They put that in there. You go post your own number, you own it. There you go. And so we do that as well as with our business coaches and working with owners just to hear what their problems are. And then we work with them a little bit, getting them off that shy, well, maybe I should do it. Go take that chance. Don't take a chance that destroys everything, but there are very, very well calculated choices and efforts that you can make to see if it can help move your needle. Not everything moves exactly the same in every market. So we try to encourage people to get out there and try things.
Sounds like a great company, 1-800-Packouts. So if people want to hear more about you or the company, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, we're simple. We're exactly what our brand name is. So 1-800-Packouts. If you want to make a phone call, it's an active number, 100%. But also 1-800-Packouts.com. You can reach us there. Anybody, myself, and my whole team. You also can go through 5-Star Franchising and 5starfranchising.com. It's our parent company. They have multiple brands as well. And anything that we can do to help, we'd be happy to help anybody and answer any questions that they would have.
Awesome.
It is awesome. Stefan, I am so glad that you could make time for us today. You really inspired me in many, many ways. Um, I think this idea of complacency, mediocrity, not really having a goal or challenge or desire to compete is a big topic right now. And I love that you brought it up. And Tracy, thank you for stimulating that also, because it really does make a difference. We recently changed some of our accounting systems, and I don't get the numbers, the monthly numbers for 3 weeks out. And I used to be able just to be able to see the numbers every single day. And I've noticed a complacency setting in because I don't see the numbers every day anymore. And so I love your idea of posting the numbers, which causes us to, I can do better than that, right? So thank you for sharing that and sharing your heart. Really appreciate you being here today.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. Thanks for allowing me to be the token this month.
Yeah, you're a great token. And Tracy, I'm gonna punt it over to you for final words.
Yeah, so I really appreciate, Stefan, the fact that, you strive for the challenge and the whole concept of non-complacency. I also think that you are being a bit humble because there is also this added like flavor on top of it all about your striving for excellence. And
Mhm.
I don't get the impression that it's just an excellence for yourself. I feel like you're the type of person that probably makes everyone around you better through a sharing of information, through positive energy. And I know that, like, as a tennis player, usually it's an independent contributor, right? An individual contributor. But there's also this element of team as well. So it's kind of like, making myself the best and then making sure that everybody comes with me. And
Right.
I really appreciate that about you. Thank you for being our token male this month. And thanks for sharing all of your wisdom with us today.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Great conversation. Thank you to all of you listening in today to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forge. Make sure to comment, like, and share Stefan Figley's interview today. And of course, we'll see you next week on another episode.